Hi there, welcome back to Bernina Club. Today I'm going to be showing you different ways of sewing on elastics, stretch elastics especially for lingerie and any undergarments that you might wear. So it's very easy to make your own lingerie and I'm going to show you how. So way back, and I hate to say over about 28 years ago, I did a course with Kirsten Martinson. Now she's the designer of all the Kwik sew patterns and she brought out an amazing book which is called Beautiful Lingerie. So this book was in the 90s. Haha, don't you just love it? That's showing my age. And the best part about the book is it has all of the patterns and all of the, see look, the beautiful red suit that she wore. All of the designs that you could ever need to sew, nighties, underwear, undergarments, camisoles, you name it, they're all in here. It has all the different sizes and every method known to man to do them. So I've been teaching this method for a long time. When you go to choose your designs, obviously you measure your bust, waist and hip and you trace your patterns off. Now the patterns are all in a big sheet and I simply trace them off onto tracing violin. Now what I do is I either trace a half pattern off and then put it on the fabric fold, or I trace a full size pattern off like this and then I write on what size it is. So this is the view A, which is the high cut, and this is the view B, which is the lower cut. So I don't go tracing two patterns for two different style of underwear. And I do exactly the same for the back. There is my half cut ones and there is my high cut ones. The next thing I do is I put my, on the back here, I put my leg and my waist measurement on for my elastic so I don't have to go looking it up. So I get all my patterns all prepared like this. So that is the front and the back of underwear, panties, and this is the crotch seam. So then I just put all my pieces of fabric together, pattern together, and there's my pattern. I don't even need to find my book again because I've got it all together. So what you're going to have is you're going to have the front part. You need two of the lining, and I'm using cotton lycra today, but I'll also show you using another fabric. And I suppose I should find the back of them, which I've lost, which is here. So you have a back, a front, and your lining and your outer of your crotch. So I'm using one pattern, one fabric. So I'm going to show you ones that I've made so you will understand. So this, I'm going to start at the back. So this is what you call a full brief, and this would come right up to your waist. And I've used a nice little narrow picot edge elastic, which I'm going to teach you how to do. And then if you want something a bit fancier, you can make it out of some very pretty fabric. And what I've done on this one is used a wider stretch lace. So this stretch lace is wider and very soft and very comfortable. So if you want some fancy dancy ones, that's what you do. And then this one is the half cut one, and I've put stretch lace, which I'm going to show you. I've put picot edge elastic, and around the top I have sewn it, turned it over and top stitched it. And around the legs I've just simply stitched it straight on, which I'm going to show you both methods. So that's the half cut ones. And then if you want an all over lace, you can simply make the whole lot out of a stretch lace with your corresponding elastics. Now these ones, I've done the wider elastic around the legs and around the top. So they're very comfortable, and that's a stretch soft lace. But remember, for the gusset, you want to have a cotton lining. A cotton lining in the gusset. Okay? So no matter what you do, no matter what fabric, you want your cotton lining in the gusset. So I will show you how to do all the different elastics. So that's that one. And then this is another stretch lace, and I've done a white stretch lace, cotton lining, and then the little picot edge elastic on that one. And then I used to make these for my girls when they were just in those little tween-age in-between years. And these are just a little camisole, and they're called a crop top actually. And I've done the picot edge lace elastic around the top. And I finished this one off with the running zigzag, which looks really, really nice. And then the wide stretch lace around the bottom, so it's very, very comfortable. And for the little granddaughters, I've just done the cute little fish fabric. I'm going to do the boys some of these as well without the picot edge. And put the little picot edge elastic around it. Or we have this wonderful stretch binding that you know I've shown you before how to sew on. And you can either use the dull side and stretch it that way, or you can have the shiny side and stretch it this way. Now this can be used for making round the sleeves of singlets. It can be used round vests. It can be used on the top of mesh fabric for pockets. But I have tried out one of the patterns, and I have put it round the waist and round the legs of some undies. Now, these ones. Here's another idea. So what you can do with this one, I'm just showing you, is the gusset, instead of having a separate gusset piece, you can have one seam at the back and the gusset comes all the way up to the top. Okay? Now on this side, I've shown you can use an overlocker for your side seams, and on this side I've done the elastic stitch, which is a super stretch stitch, and then I can use the single overlock stitch on here, which I'm going to show you later on those pair. Okay, so that's another idea. Then there's these ones which are high cut. I put the wide elastic round the top, and this is the same pattern, and on this one I've cut the front down so that it comes down to a point, so it just gives a shaping on the undies. Now the difference also is this one is 100% cotton lycra, so you always do the stretchiest part around you, and this is a polyester fabric, which is like a slinky knit. So if you like more a slinky knit, you can use this fabric as well, but make sure, and I've done these in white to show you, that you use the cotton lining in the crutch seam. Okay, so yeah, so there's so many different styles you can choose from, depending on the look you like, so I'm going to teach you how to sew them all. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you on here the right side of the fabric. Now the first thing is, everyone gets very confused which is the right and wrong side. On a stretch fabric, you want the stretch to go around your body, so if you stretch the fabric, it will curl to the right side. So that's how I know that this is the right side. Okay, and I lay my fabric down like this, and I want to insert some stretch lace. So what I use, the things you need for sewing lingerie, is you need some duckbill scissors, because they make your life extremely easy when I show you how to cut out lace. You want some stretch 75 needles, because this will sew all your elastics and all your fabrics, and you won't get any pilling on your fabric, and it won't damage your elastic. So I use the stretch 75. And the other thing, believe it or not, is magic tape. Now this is a clear tape, and I use it to put my stretch elastic on my lingerie, and you can sew over it, so it's brilliant. So what I'm going to do, and I've got my handy dandy measure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the center of my front of my pants, and I'm going to just mark that with a pin so I know where the center is. And I'm going to lay that back down, and I'm just getting some stretch lace here. I can use it this wide, or I could cut it in half. You can actually, if you've got a good lace, you can cut this in half and it won't fray. I'll just show you. And you could use half on one side and half on the other if you like. So if you didn't want a wide one, you can simply cut them in half like that. Okay, because you're just going to zigzag the edge anyway. But I'll use the whole piece. So I'm just going to sit this across here, and I'm going to cut my lace. Now I want to measure from the side to the lace, so I do the other side exactly the same. So I use my little gauge, and that's 5 centimeters. So I want to put it 5 centimeters here. This is my mark, my center, and I'm going to do exactly the same. So I'm just going to lay this down here, 5 centimeters. Lay that there and meet that up the top. Make sure it overlaps. So 5 centimeters, perfect. So now I've got some tape ready here, and I'm just going to tape across I reuse it all the time. Tape across here to hold it while I sew, and it stays there until I've finished. Like that. And so this can just overlap, that's fine. We're going to trim it off later. So there's step number 1. So if you want to add lace to anything, you simply just tape it down with your magic tape. Now, I like to use the walking foot for doing all my lingerie. I find it holds everything down flat because of the weight of the walking foot. And I can use it for sewing my elastic on. I can use it for my leg elastic, my waist elastic, for everything. So I leave my walking foot on. I'm going to do 3 stitches today. One will be the super stretch stitch, which is this one here. And it's a zigzag on an angle, and it is a very strong stitch, so it's very, very good for lingerie because it's super stretch. The other one is a small zigzag, which is going to be this one here. Little small zigzag. And the other one is the, see if I've got it. No, I'll show you, because I think I need to do it in a darker colour. Let me have a look. No, I'll show you, because I need to put a darker colour on. You can't see it. It's too white on white. So this is what we're going for. We're just making our little front of our pants like this. So this is what I'm going to do on this one. So I'm going to put it on a tiny, tiny little zigzag. Now why I'm doing that, because it only needs to be a small zigzag. So I'm going to put it on, I'm just going to clear it and push zigzag. So I'm going to go down to about 1.5, and you can lengthen a little bit to 1.65. You can, whatever works for you. And if it was a scallop like this one, and I was sewing the elastic on, I would stitch around my scallops and trim it back. And that's what I've done on this one here. So I kind of sewed around my scallops. And if you have a look, I've trimmed it around my scallop. So the zigzag is on here, but I've trimmed it around, and then it gives me a nice finish on the right side. Okay? So yeah, they're very, very easy to make. But this one, I think I could pretty much go straight across there, and it's going to be fine. So it'll be quicker. So make sure you've got your top thread, your bottom thread up, your top thread up. Always have your bobbin thread up to start sewing with lingerie, so you don't get anything going down into your fabric. If you're worried, get yourself a little bit of fabric. So if you are worried about it eating your fabric, get yourself a little bit of fabric like this, and just start off and stitch onto there, and then go onto your garment. Okay? And then you don't have to worry about the fabric going down into the throat. So I'm just going to zigzag straight across here. I'm not going to worry about going around my very small scallop. Now when you get to the bottom here, do not go across the top, because we are going to be cutting these out. So you want your needle up, you want to lift it, you want to turn it around, and you want to go back down this side. Okay, so do not go across the top. So just go down both sides. And then when you get to here, don't use your cutter. I want you to put your needle up, and I want you to pull your work out, and I want you to cut your work on here, because we do want to have tails. It's the only time I'll tell you we want to have tails. The reason we want to have it, because when we go to do the next piece, we need to have tension on the back. All right, so I'm going to sew down this side. And stop, needle up. Then I'm going to come around this side. Make sure you've got your tail there. And sew down this side, and you have now made a much prettier pair of undies because you put a little bit of lace on them instead of very plain. Okay, do not use your cutter, lift it up, and you want to have a tail because you'll need this for the next part. Now what you do, I actually work on my board because I really like working on my board. Now what you do is you lay this down, and this is where your duckbills come in. So these are called duckbill scissors because I've got this big duckbill on here. The idea of this is this goes against your lace, and you can simply trim without cutting the underlace. So you just lay it on top of the lace and you trim, and you cannot cut it. It's just foolproof. So I'll do that one. That's my colour for next time. Turn it around and cut this side. So it's really, really good. You'll notice I've still got the sellotape on the front. Okay, so you cannot cut them. So you can see what's happening. The part of the duckbill is sitting flat on my lace. So when I trim, there is no way I can cut that underneath the lace. It's absolutely brilliant. And then what I want to do is I want to cut across here so that matches the rest of it, so it's not uneven. And then I want to cut the leg elastic round so it matches. Now can you see, oh, and I'll take the sellotape off, just pull it off, and I reuse it over and over again. It's brilliant because it just resticks, so it's really good. And if there's a little bit left in the lace, it will wash out with the first wash. Okay, there's a little bit there. That one probably can go in the rubbish. So can you see the difference between cutting out the lace and not cutting it out? So much prettier cutting it out. Not that anyone's going to see your undies, but you know what I mean. One of our staff, she makes her daughter, she makes her mother fancy bright coloured undies, and whenever she goes to the hospital or the doctors, they always comment because she goes often. So she has really pretty undies. I think it's funny. Anyway, so turn it over, and I'm ready to cut this side. So duckbill, put it up against your seam, and you're trimming right back to your zigzag. So it's very, very good. So you're using very basic stitches for your lingerie. And I'm going to do it all by sewing machine today. I'm not going to use the overlocker. If you had a flat lock overlocker, you could flat lock this down on the front with twin needling, and that would sit flat. But there you have the front, really, really, really nice and easy. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is add the gusset onto here. Now you'll notice the pattern goes around and it's got a center point, and that helps you find the center like that. So I know that is the center mark, and I hope I didn't just cut out my, oh no, here they are. Oh, that was good. I thought I just cut them up. So remember, it's going to curl to the right side. So I know that this mark, and I've done my little center point on this one, it's going to match up with that center point. So the first thing I do is I put a pin and my center point like that. So there's right side to right side. Then I turn it over to the wrong side, and I get the lining, which is also going to be, this is the wrong side, but I'm putting right side to wrong side. So I've got 3 pieces, and what I've done, there's my lining, there's my outer. I've sandwiched the front of my undies in between the 2 gussets. So you've got your central point together. Now you just put the corners together. So one here and one there. Now you don't really have to use a super stretch seam across here. You could just use this little zigzag if you like, because there's not a lot of width, and there's also it's going to be fine just to use a small stitch. If you use the overlocker after making quite a few pairs of these, it's a little bit thicker, so I think I like using the sewing machine for this job. So if you need to use the super stretch stitch, it's stitch number 11. If not, what you do is you run your foot along the edge of your fabric and you put your needle position all the way to the right, because you only want a very narrow seam. So pretty much it's 6 mils. Now can you see I've got my tails? This is when I use them. So you want to hold on to your tail, you want to start sewing, and you've got something to pull on because it's a very slight stretch, so you don't have any tucks. So you just have your little tails, and I just wrap it around my fingers, and it's just a very light, you're basically just keeping the tension on. And that is how you do your seam across there. You don't need to backstitch, it's all going to be having elastic on it, so you don't need to backstitch. Okay, then I just can cut that tail off. And now what I can do is just cut those little triangles off. And there's my seam. Okay, so that's your seam done. And then you'll just shake it down, and there you've done the front and the gusset. Now it's very, very easy to do the next step. What you do is you lay the back of your gusset flat, you lay the front of your gusset facing up, and you've got your halfway mark there. You get the back of your pants and you put right side to right side. Now this time it's a lot wider seam, so you put right side to right side and you pin, and I pin the corners together, so you've got the middle and the corners there, the middle and the corner, so this is the edge of your gusset. Now this is what you do. So you've got your back of your pants, you've got your front of your pants, and you've got your gusset all pinned together. Okay, so now what you do is you fold the back down. Now watch this, because this is the important part. You fold up the back of your pants, you fold and fold the front of your pants, and you bring your lining all the way over so that the center mark is pinned to the center mark, and this point is going to this point, so you've got all your layers even. And so you take out this pin, you're pinning 3 layers together, and you bring this point and you bring it to here, and you're laying the 3 layers together, and you now have sandwiched it all together. And apparently it's called the burrito method. You then just pin all these 3 layers together and sew the seam exactly as you've done. Oh, that's a quilting pin. We don't want that. We want nice sharp pins. So you pin this one onto here, and you bring all your layers up and you pin them together. So you're going to have more pins because you've got a bigger area to stretch out. There we go. There we are. So we are just going to stitch across there, and that's it, all done. So I'm going to use the same stitch, and then I will show you how to pull it out, and when we come back we will do the elastics. So just stretch it out so you have no tucks. Make sure all your edges are together. You're sitting it nice and flat. You see with this hand I'm holding it nice and flat. And just doing your seam. So usually they're all about 6 mils. Make sure it's all nice and flat under there. And you don't need to backstitch. Okay, remember, needle up, pull your work out, have a tail. Now all you do now, cut the tail off, cut your little triangles off, and you've got your little sandwich. Pull it through the side. It's just like making a vest, and you now have the front and the back of your undies all ready to go. Okay, so when we come, I'll show you this way. When we come back, I'll show you how you halve and quarter it and you put your elastics on. Okay, that's the wrong side, that's the right side. Let's go the right side. There we are. All right, so I will see you in a minute.